And welcome to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is our first show of 2016, and this is the sports show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, joined by Sports Information Director Donnie Netto. Donnie, Happy New Year, and a little bit later on in the program during our interview segment, we'll be talking more women's hockey with head coach Terry Mannor. Always good to have our good friend Terry on the show.
Yeah, one of the veterans of the Cardinals Nest. Terry's been on it quite a few times, and you know it's really hard to believe that we're already into the middle of January. And you know, for you with classes just starting on Monday, it's kind of like the new year has just started. But for a lot of these athletes, they've been back since late December, so they've been around for a couple weeks. It's funny. I would bet that some of them are probably glad that classes started because with just their events going on and the practices and whatnot, it probably got a little quiet around campus.
Right, I think you're right about that. And women's basketball especially, they're one of those teams that started late in December, right after the Christmas holiday. And they are now, they've won 4 straight games since then, and they're first in the conference in the MIAC standings right now. So women's basketball, Brandy Blattner specifically, but really the whole team on a roll right now. It's incredible what they've been able to do given all of the changes they had at the start of the season.
Yeah, no question. 12-1 in overall, 6-0 in the conference. And really the neat thing about the 6-0 right now is they have a 2-game lead over a pack of 5 teams that are in second place at 4-2. So right now the Cardinals are they're doing everything right. And I've talked to Coach Pollari quite a bit, and he's very happy with the way things are going. And you mentioned Brandy Blattner, and how can you not? Back-to-back 27-point games and 11 rebounds and 10 rebounds in her last 2 games. So back-to-back double-doubles and athlete of the week this week in the MIAC. So she's just tearing it up. And really, I think she's just kind of hitting her stride. We talked early in the season that she was coming from a volleyball season, so she had played with Coach Lester and the Cardinals in the fall in volleyball. So, it's taken her a little while to get her basketball feet underneath her, and now that she kind of is in full swing, boy, she's just playing lights out.
Later on in the Cardinals Nest, Nathan Voller is going to interview, and we'll learn a little bit more about Macki Fadness in our Student Athlete Spotlight. Brandy reminds me a little bit like Macki. She's just really stands out athletically out there on the court. I remember HBC covered that first exhibition game when the Cardinals took on Winona State. Later, somebody asked me my impression of the women's basketball team, and I told them what I thought, and I said, I'll tell you, one player athletically that really stood out in that game was Brandy Blattner.
Yeah, she is an athlete.
Yeah.
And I think the thing though that you have to remember about the women's team is it doesn't revolve just around
right,
Brandy.
correct,
And I think that's why they are so successful right now is as well as Brandy's playing, they don't have to have her score 27 points for them to win. Now, granted that Coach Pollari sure likes the fact that that she's pouring in 27 points a game, but you've got so many other weapons in Bridget Pepke and Emma Schaefer and Michaela Meredith and Bridget Audette, and the list just keeps going on. Haley Traum has been playing extremely well as well. She had 15 points the other night, which is equal to her career high. And I talked to Bridget a little bit, Pepke, about this team. And she made a good point in that there are a lot of players on this team that have found different roles this year. They've been kind of in the shadows a little bit the last couple of years. This year they're expected to step up, and they really are. And I look at Michaela Meredith as one of those people. She's kind of was able to play kind of a secondary role the last couple of years. This year she's in the starting lineup, and it's probably hard for Coach Pollari to take her out of the lineup just because of everything that she does.
And it shows, I think, the maturity of the members on the team. And the fact that Coach Pollari has been able to maintain that team concept with all of the changes and new players in the lineup, new players coming off of the bench, I think it's a testament not only to Coach Pollari, but that entire team for the kind of level of maturity that takes.
No question. It's very difficult, and I will be the first to admit I'm surprised that they're 12-1. I thought that it might take a little while for them to kind of everybody to gel and mesh because you've got a new coach, new system, new language. Everything is different, and yet they just picked it up like it was Coach has been there for years, and I think that is a testament to this team. And you look at Brandy, and I think that she's a real good example that, she missed the first 25 practices. When you've got a new coach, it's almost like missing the first 50 practices. So, I think she's just starting to really hit her stride, and it's just another weapon that they have to go with. And they've got a big week this week. They played Concordia on Wednesday, and then they've got St. Thomas, nationally ranked. They've got them on Saturday here at St. Mary's. So it's a big week for them, and they're going to just continue to impress. I really believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg with this team.
Well, and you had mentioned 5 teams tied for second place. They have 2 of those teams coming up in Concordia and St. Thomas. But this is an important stretch for them because they have 3 consecutive home games here against conference opponents, and then they're going to be on the road from a conference standpoint quite a bit the rest of the way. So kind of an important stretch to stay on top of the conference standings.
It really is. And the other thing that kind of gets forgotten as you look at standings is that last year the MIC made a change in terms of women's basketball, in that we used to have a 22-game conference schedule. Now we only have an 18-game conference schedule. So we play every team in the conference once, and then there's 4 teams that we don't play twice. And so one of those is Concordia, one of those is Bethel. 2 of the teams that are in that 5-team log jam, St. Ben's is in there as well, and that's another team that we only play once in conference play. So those games really become magnified. It's like playing that team twice in that one game, just because you don't get a second shot at them. So if you don't play well, you have an off night and you lose, you don't get that chance to get back at them another time. So those kind of games are magnified. Being able to play some of those games at home certainly is an advantage. I mean, we're basically unbeatable this year. We're undefeated, 5-0 at home. We're 40-3 over the last 4 years in conference play. So we love to play at home, and when we can get some of these top teams in the standings at home, we certainly enjoy that.
Yeah, and that Concordia game will be right here on HBC TV 25. And, for men's basketball, they've also got Concordia on Saturday, Donnie.
St. Thomas on Saturday.
Or St. Thomas Saturday. 5-game losing streak right now for the Cardinals men's team. However, I think they're showing vast improvements this year. They're really making all of the games very competitive. Their losses aren't by very much. I think they're making big strides this year.
No question. And you look at, as you say, unfortunately they haven't won in 5 games, but you look at the scores of some of those games. St. Olaf, they lost by 5. Bethel just last week, they lost by 9. And they're playing these games, and every game they're in, and it's just that they can't quite get over the hump. Bethel was a great example. They're down by 2 at the half, and they fall behind by 14 in the second half, and then boom, all of a sudden it's a 5-point game, and they just get close, and they haven't been able to get over that hump. But there's no question that this team that Coach Russ Ovens put on the court is by far one of the best teams that we've had in a number of years, and I think that as they continue to gel as a team, they're just going to continue to get better. And unlike the women, they do get a shot at every one of these teams again. So I would be very interested in the second time around seeing quite a few more W's than they did the first time around.
And how about Will Swigham's 21 points the other day against Bethel? Terrific showing from the senior.
Absolutely. And Will is one of those that he's had to lead by example, and has kind of really done his business rebounding so far this season, in that he's got 3 double-doubles this year, and for him to get that 21 points, the 7th time in his career that he's reached the 20-point barrier, it just shows the versatility that he has. And again, as we talked with the women, it gives the Cardinals just that next weapon. Connor Kaiser was injured and didn't play on Monday, so Will stepped in and kind of took over for Connor and did a great job. And that's the thing with this team as well, is they have a lot of people that are able to score the points. It's just a matter of, can we stop the other team from scoring as well.
Well, Donnie, indoor track and field starts this weekend. Thank goodness it's indoor track and field with the Burn Knoll, right? That's a home meet for St. Mary's.
And Coach Anderson loves that we have a home meet to kick things off, and I know the athletes do too. It's always fun to compete in front of a home crowd. They do draw very well for that event, so that's going to be exciting. And I talked to Brian Ortman, one of the seniors, a senior jumper, and I asked him, I said, what's the difference between the indoor season and the outdoor, especially for him as a jumper. He says, well, indoors, it's a lot warmer. And I said, so I take it you like the indoor better? And he's like, yeah. So they're very excited about that event. You know, they've been training since November. So it's time for them to, to get a meet under their belts and kind of just to set the bar to see where they're at. And I know Coach Anderson's very excited about Saturday's event.
Yeah, some of the top female returners would be Maria Miserelli, Paige Schernecker, and also Alicia Berkness, all returning.
And Maria, she set the pole vault record, both indoor and outdoor, was all-conference performer in the pole vault. So she, as a freshman, so she's gonna do some great things. And our distance runners, both on the men's and women's side, they had outstanding cross-country seasons, and there's no doubt that they're just going to pick up where they left off with.
And
track.
Morris Dennis on the men's side, he was one of the finalists for Male Athlete of the Year a season ago.
Yeah, when you qualify for the Nationals, that certainly is a great thing. And Morris had he didn't have a good indoor season last year. He was hurt and bothered by some injuries. So great outdoor season, and hopefully he can pick up and really have a great indoor season this well. One of the fastest runners we've had in the history of the program. So
swimming and diving gets back underway this weekend. They'll be in Decorah, Iowa at Luther College. And then finally, Donnie, men's hockey action. Big weekend last weekend against St. Thomas, where the Cardinals earn a split. Tell us about that weekend.
Yeah, big split. You look at any time that you play St. Thomas, they're perennially league leaders. Won the conference the last 4 years in a row. So for the Cardinals to win 4-3 on Friday night was great. And, I talked to Coach Moore about it, and St. Mary's was up 3-1 in that game. St. Thomas comes back and scores 2 quick goals in the third period to tie it. And rather than hang their heads and say, oh, don't, here we go, the Cardinals just got back to work, and Nick Alberto got the game winner late in that third period. And that was a huge win for them. We hadn't beaten St. Thomas in a regulation game in the last 22, so they were 0-19-3. One of those ties being just last year, where we won in the shootout, but did not beat them in regulation. So a big win for the Cardinals there. They weren't able to get the sweep and losing 6-2 on Saturday, but 3 points against the Tommies, who are in first place in the conference, certainly keeps St. Mary's in the hunt in terms of where they are playoff positioning. And as Coach Moore said, they've got 2 non-conference games this weekend. Fourth-ranked Stevens Point on Friday, and then Stout on Saturday. And then they have 8 regular season conference games left, and that's it.
Right.
So we've only got 4 weekends of conference play left. So any points that they can get to keep them in that mix of playoff contention is going to be a bonus.
And of course, we had that Friday night win right here on HBC TV 25. And as you pointed out, number 4 Stevens Point this Friday. So be sure to stay tuned here to HBC. The Cardinals Nest coming up next. We'll bring in Terry Mannor from the women's hockey team here on HBC.
Want the latest news on St. Mary's University athletics? Watch the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman and SMU Sports Information Director Donnie Netto will talk about the past week in Cardinal athletics, highlighting the best in each Cardinal sports team. Player and coach guests will add their stories and insight each week with new shows Thursdays at 5 p.m. and replays Fridays at 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 7:30 a.m. on HBC TV 25.
Join HBC Sports' Extra Point one-camera coverage of high school football and soccer throughout the fall, presented by Lewiston Auto. In addition to our Football Night Crew broadcasts, Extra Point will bring you 8 games from the gridiron and 9 games from the pitch. For the full slate of games, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when your team will be on the field. That's Extra Point coverage of HBC Sports presented by Lewiston Auto, all fall, only on TV 25.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, and Terry Mannor joining us, the head coach from the women's hockey team. Terry, thanks for being back once again on the Cardinals Nest.
Thanks
And
for having me.
yeah, your team now 3-2-1 in the conference, tied for 5th place, 4-7-2 overall this year. So maybe give us your impression of how the season has gone and how things have transpired here.
Quite honestly, the season's gone just like I thought it was going to go. I mean, we've had some tough competition. We lost a lot in the graduating seniors last year, so it's taken some time for some players to kind of mold into what they need to be. Right now, we've come to the point where I think they've realized what we need to to do to be successful. And quite honestly, I think we have the potential to be the best team that we've had in quite a long time.
You know, Coach, you talk about the tough competition, and if you just look at last weekend as a start, Lake Forest ranked number 3 in the country. 2 very, very competitive games. You lost 2-1 in a game that Lake Forest scores late in the third period to beat you guys, and then you lose 4-2. Is it? I don't want to say easy, but are you able to take a lot of positives from a weekend like that?
Most definitely able to take positives from it. And again, they're 3rd ranked in the country at the time. I know I have different feelings about the rankings, but they're a very good team, and obviously the best team we played to this point. And we matched physically with them, every second of the way. The positives taken out of that was that we matched physically with them. It shows that individually we have the talent. The negatives can also be seen as a positive in the fact that we did not play that well as a team. We did not play that well within the systems. So that can be seen as a positive in the fact that we didn't play our best game, and yet they were 2 very, very competitive games.
So what are some of the areas you're seeing this year where you're doing maybe a little bit better than perhaps you expected, and still some areas where you need to get some improvement?
Areas in which I think we're doing better is that we are playing more as a team. We're playing less as individuals, not people looking for the personal glory, looking for more as a team concept. Some of the negatives is that, again, with that, the positives, we're also still not playing that great as a team. In the sense that our system needs work. Just understanding that it has to be done every shift.
As a coach, Terry, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but offensively, you guys have, I don't want to say struggled, but before the 4-2 loss, you'd gone 3 games with just scoring 1 or fewer goals. You got 2 goals against Lake Forest. As you prepare practices and whatnot, how do you try to get into the ladies, trying to create more offense?
Trying to create more offense. I wish I knew. I honestly wish I knew, because it's been something that we've been working on, quite honestly, for a few years. If you look at the women's game, a lot of times the bulk of the scoring comes from a couple players. And that is quite honestly the case for us right now as well. I'd like to see it more evenly spread out, but we obviously work every day trying to improve our goal scoring, but at the same time, we need to embrace who we are. We're not a goal scoring team. Heading into last weekend, we were giving up 1.91 goals a game. We were scoring 1.91 goals a game. So we have to embrace that we are a very good defensive team, but we just got to take advantage of those opportunities offensively when we have them.
And what results from that, I think, and as it kind of showed as I was looking at the statistics, is that you have a lot of close games, and your team has to be mentally prepared and tough to handle with all of those close games. Being as defensive-minded as you are, that's going to be a result. How do you feel they've handled and sort of embraced that close game mentality?
I think that we've gotten better at it as the season gone on. We met yesterday and talked about a few things. We have game objectives. We have 10 different game objectives that we feel if we meet these, we're going to succeed. And the 4 games that we've met, the bulk of those objectives, we won all 4 of them. In the 7 games where we've been in the middle point of those objectives, we've lost 5, tied 2. Now in those games, we've scored 6 goals, we've given up 13. So it's essentially a 1-goal game every game. So they've grown accustomed to playing those close games. It's just what we have to figure out, and what I have to figure out is how do we go from losing those 1-goal games to winning those 1-goal games.
We talked, and you mentioned giving up 1.9 goals a game. Goaltending for you has been a luxury. You've got 3 outstanding goalies, Tori Herman, Mara Shields, and Ashley Corcoran. And I know we've talked several times. The hard part for you is how do you get them all playing time?
Get them ice. Yeah, we've talked about it. Yeah, we have 3 fantastic goalies. All good character kids, all have their own little quirks about them and personalities. But as far as talent on the ice goes, I have absolutely no problem putting any one of them in the net. And like you said, the problem is finding them all ice time.
And how about moving it up? You talk about your defensemen a little bit, and obviously they are led by Macki Fadness and Katie Letourneau, 2 of your veterans, 2 of your seniors. Defensively, it isn't just the goalie, but those defensemen have to be doing their job as well.
Defensemen are definitely doing their job, and as you say, Katie and Macki are our leaders. And with that said, we've implemented in the last 2 years a new defensive zone system, which is more inclusive of all 5 of the skaters playing defense, which really helps out a lot. Now getting out of the zone is something else, but it helps us out a lot.
How about offensively? I think the person who's really kind of impressed me is Jamie Henderson. She's really having an outstanding year, pretty much averaging a goal, or not a goal a game, but a point a game. And then McKenna Parent, she's really kind of stepped into her own this year as a senior and kind of really offensively kind of recharge yourself a little bit.
Yeah, in both cases. And you speak of Macki Fadness often, she'll give me some grief about this, but in both cases, maturity. Jamie only being a sophomore, last year physically came in and did very well, but didn't quite understand the college game. McKenna went 3 years and trying to play it one way. This year she's really realized that it's what she needs to do more as a teammate, and from that standpoint, she's excelled individually. So it's maturity, it's knowledge of the game.
Mm-hmm. Terry, give us a little preview of this weekend with St. Thomas.
St. Thomas. Early in the year, one of the players asked me, who do I enjoy beating the most, and I didn't answer. Yesterday, I answered to the team, and it is St. Thomas, the team I enjoy beating the most. Player for player, they're probably the most skilled team in our conference. I won't say probably, they are the most skilled team in our conference. I think they're ranked number 4 right now. Very good team. Quite honestly, I'm very confident going in this weekend. I think we're ready for them. I think, quite honestly, we'll catch them off guard. Looking forward to it.
How important is it? It's interesting now. This is going to be the second week in a row for you that you've played Saturday, Sunday rather than Friday, Saturday. Does that make a difference at all?
In certain ways, it does make a difference. One thing that we've changed this year is we've practiced on Sundays and taken Monday off for various reasons. So I think that kind of will help us going into this weekend. But it's uncharacteristic to have games like Saturday, Sunday, and have them back to back. It doesn't often happen.
And we have a few seconds left. I don't know if you want to give a shout out to your son Ty, who had a goal last night in the Windhawks game. Is it hard for you not being able to see all of his games because of coaching?
That's the hardest part about coaching. My son's probably played, 300-400 hockey games, and I've probably seen 40 of them, 50 of them. I get updates from my wife, but that's the most difficult thing. But it is exciting going home. I went home last night after practice and got to talk to him and just see the glimmer in his eye, talking to me about the game. So.
Does he listen to advice from Dad?
He very much listens to many things, but he's a typical teenager. He's not going to listen to everything. So.
Last thing, Terry, Nathan Voller is going to be putting Macki Fadness in the student athlete spotlight in just a minute here. What can you tell us about Macki as one of her coaches?
Oh, Macki. Mackie's that person that as a coach, you think she does no wrong, and her teammates always tell you that's not the truth. I used to always think Macki was a quiet one, and every time I said something about it, the team was like, no. And this year, Mackie's really come out of her shell. She's quick-witted, say.
Okay. All right.
Doesn't often talk, but when she does, I gather something. And actually, with that said, Mackie's a great leader. This year, beginning of the year, we, as a team, had a discussion about something. Started off very level-headed, and all of a sudden sides started going back and forth. Macki was very quiet, and all of a sudden after a few minutes, Macki just spoke up, said her opinion. Team was done. Team went with her opinion. So
all right, good.
Macki's great.
Yep. All right, Terry Mannor, head coach for the women's hockey team at St. Mary's. Thanks for being on the show. Good luck this weekend against St. Thomas and the rest of the season.
Yep, thank you.
All right, Nathan Voller will put Macki Fadness in the student athlete spotlight next here on HBC.
Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25.
And we're back to wrap things up on the Cardinals Nest with the Student Athlete Spotlight, Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto. But before we get to that, Donnie, I didn't want to say anything when Coach Mannor was on the set, but he really has been a coaching rock at St. Mary's. He's been there a long time, and his teams, year in, year out, always consistently competitive.
Absolutely, they battle for conference playoff berths every year, and it starts with the coach. And last year he was rewarded certainly with getting MIAC Coach of the Year, certainly a deserving honor. And you're right. I mean, he's been there for a long time, and he's extremely knowledgeable of the game. And I thought it was really neat the way he talked about Ty and how hard it is to be a coach and a father of an athlete at the same time. I know from watching Ty grow up that it's hard for him not to be able to see him play all the time.
I also liked his insights on Macki Fadness, and here now is Nathan Voller with last year's Female Athlete of the Year at St. Mary's, Macki Fadness.
Macki Fadness is a senior defenseman from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And what's really neat about her is she's one of the team captains, so she's a really strong leader on the ice. But also, too, she's kind of a fun person to hang out with off the ice. And that's what I found out when I interviewed not only her, but also some of her fellow teammates as well.
I decided to come to St. Mary's to play hockey. One of my friends from high school actually played in Eau Claire and then came to school here and played, and she talked me into coming to school here. I think the teammates and the friends you make here is something unforgettable. I think that's probably one of the biggest things about playing hockey here. Well, pregame is kind of where we spend a lot of our time together playing different games. But over break so far, we've done different competitions with our team. We've kind of split up into two groups.
Well, before games, we have pregame jams. So all the roommates will get together and we'll blast music and we'll try to get in the zone and get pumped up for our game that afternoon. Well, as a team, we usually come early anyway to play Lightning in the rack, but Macki and I like to come extra early, a lot earlier than other people. It just gets us in the zone, and I don't know, it's something that we share together, so. I would say Macki's definitely the better player. She's always making the baskets, and I'm not, so she most likely gets me out every time.
We always see each other up in the caf. Anytime you go up there, you'll see someone on our team and usually sit with them.
One of the things we really like to do is eat Jack's Pizza. It's probably one of our favorite things. Macki likes cheese, and I like pepperoni, so if we can get the half and half, that's usually our favorite, or else she'll just pick off the topping, so.
I have a few classes with teammates, but not many. But I have 3 other roommates, and all 3 of them are on our team, so usually we'll see each other, obviously every day, and then have people over, so.
The last couple of years, especially like in the education program, we've always had classes together since our freshman year, so. And especially last year, I think we had almost every class together, so we see each other a lot, like off the ice and on the ice. Yeah, being an education major, we get to go out into the field a lot, and so we get to go into like classrooms together, and when we're practicing like teaching and stuff like that, we get to practice in front of each other, so it's kind of fun just like to be able to like see ourselves like on the ice like as hockey players and then off the ice as future teachers. I think both of us kind of like have those qualities of like feeling comfortable in front of people and being able to like lead, so I think that both of us would like to coach in the future.
I would say the C definitely fits her. She's a very good leader, and she's always enthusiastic and always inspiring others. And I don't think I really see her making bad plays or anything. She's always making good plays that kind of inspire me to go out there and do my best too.
Every day I learn from Macki because we're both defensemen, and so we play the same position. So constantly when we're at practice, I feel like I'm looking at her and I'm kind of seeing what she's doing and learning from her. And I just feel like she's really good at being a leader in the sense of knowing what she has to do on the ice to be successful.
Honestly, Macki's just a really positive influence both at home and in the locker room. She's always in a good mood. She's a really fun person to talk to, and a lot of the time we'll just joke around and we'll laugh a lot.
Well, I wanted to play hockey, and then when I came for my visit and saw campus, I came during the winter, so no one was really around, and I just got to see the team, and when they were here alone on campus, seeing the weight room and meeting all the people, it just seemed like a good fit for me.
Well, it turns out Macki is a really good leader for the Cardinal squad. Not only is she dominant on the ice, but she also likes to have a lot of fun off the ice as well, even if that involves eating Jack's Pizza and being really good at Lightning. This has been Nathan Fuller reporting for the Cardinals Nest.